Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barik ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyid al-awwaleen wal akhirin. Sayyid al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا نبي الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا رحمة للعالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salutations, peace and blessings upon the best of creation, the jewel of creation, the crown of creation, the beloved of Allah Almighty, the coolness to our eyes, the purpose of our lives, the reviver of our hearts, the inspirer to our minds, the one who remembered Allah Almighty the most, and the one who Allah Almighty remembers the most, the awakener of our soul, the most honored one, the most praised one, the most revered one, and undoubtedly the most beautiful one, none other than Syedna wa Nabiyyuna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and through the karam nawazi of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, once again we are honored and we are blessed to observe the leader of the days, Sayyidul Ayyam, the day of Jumma. I make sincere dua to Allah Almighty that Allah Almighty shower His mercy, His blessings upon each and every one of us, upon our parents, upon our children, and especially the Muslim Ummah. A famous work by Imam Abu Zakaria al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh is a book called Riyadus Salihin. And in this particular masterpiece of Imam Abu Zakaria al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, he has collected the verses of the Quran and different ayat mubarakah and ahadith mubarakah in relation to different subjects, different topics on religion, on different aspects of our deen. And in the 8th chapter of this book is known as Babun fil Istiqama, and this is what he has done in his book. So each chapter is after a certain aspect of our religion, of our deen, and before he begins each chapter, he mentions few verses of the Holy Quran, and after mentioning these few verses of the Holy Quran in regards to the chapter, he then brings a few ahadith mubarakah, few sayings of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or of the Sahaba Kiram, and he explains what these certain chapters are and how to implement them in our lives. So this is the amazing work, this is the amazing masterpiece done by Imam Abu Zakaria al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh in his famous book called Riyadus Salihin. And in the 8th chapter of this book, in the name of this chapter is Babun fil Istiqamati, and this chapter is in relation to steadfastness, and they mention in the beginning of the chapter 3 verses of the Holy Quran in regards to istiqamat, in regards to steadfastness, and then he goes on to mention 2 prophetic narrations, 2 sayings of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 2 sayings of the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the 3 verses which he mentions in this chapter of his, which is Babun fil Istiqama, he mentions an ayah from Surah Fussilat, which is from verses number 30 to 32. And when he mentioned these ayahs is the ayat which I was blessed to recite at the beginning. And in this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says and mentions in the Holy Quran that Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna allazina qalu Rabbuna Allahu summa istaqamu. That Allah Almighty, He says that in this verse of Surah Fussilat, verse number 30, that surely those who say that Allah is our sustainer, that our sustainer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is our provider, He is our cherisher, that He is Allah Almighty. And this is the first part of the ayat, that Inna allazina qalu Rabbuna Allahu. And then the ayat He mentions summa istaqamu. And then they remain steadfast upon this, that they remain steadfast upon this, that they act upon this, and they say that Allah Almighty is our sustainer, He is our cherisher, He is our creator. So first what the people should do is that they must accept the Iman, that they acknowledge the tenets and the fundamentals of the deen, of the religion, and then they remain steadfast upon this. So then they act upon this, and then they believe it with the true heart as well. And then the verse goes on to mention that تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ اللَّهَ تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا. The Almighty Allah, He then mentions that after a believer, He says that Allah Almighty is his sustainer, is his provider, is his cherisher. That when a mu'min, when a believer says this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Khaliq, He is Razik, He is Malik and Quddus, and he remains steadfast upon this, what happens then is that the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they descend upon that person. Allah's angels, Allah's malaika, they descend upon that person, and they say to that individual who has accepted the Iman, who has accepted the belief, He says that the one who has remained steadfast upon this part of the ayat, that do not fear and do not have any grief. And then the ayat goes on to mention that وَبَشِّرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. That not only do you be exempt and don't have any fear and grief in the dunya, in the world, but also rejoice that He is giving glad tidings, basharat, upon them. That glad tidings be upon you, and that the glad tidings which are given upon these individuals who say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sustainer, He is the cherisher, the glad tidings which are given to them is of Jannah, is of heaven, that Jannah is for you. And for the ones who accept the Iman, and the one who remains qa'im, who remains steadfast upon it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the angels will descend upon these people, and those angels will say to that individual that do not fear, do not have any grief, and that glad tidings be upon you, rejoice, be in a state of happiness, for indeed your abode will be in Jannatul Firdaus. So this is the first fundamental which has been mentioned by Imam Abu Zakri al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi in his 8th chapter of his most famous book Riyadus Salihin, that for those people who say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sustainer, the angels descend and they tell them to have no fear and to have no grief. Why? Because they are given glad tidings by none other than Allah Almighty, that their abode is in Jannatul Firdaus, because they have brought Iman upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it goes on to mention that نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاؤُكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. And then Allah Almighty, He then says that we will be your friends in this dunya, and we will be your friends in this akhirah as well. So when we say that Allah is our sustainer, we are given many glad tidings by our Creator, by our Lord, that He says that first the angels will descend upon, and they will say to the individual to have no fear, to have no grief, and then they will be given the glad tidings of their abode being in Jannatul Firdaus, and then they will also be given the glad tidings of that Allah Almighty being their friend, not only in this world but also in the hereafter as well. So this is the ayahs which were mentioned at the beginning by Imam Abu Zakri al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi in his 8th chapter, which was in regards to steadfastness. And like I mentioned, that he mentions a few Quranic verses in regards to this, and then he mentions a few prophetic narrations as well. So the prophetic narrations which we will cover, there are approximately a few of them, 2, 3, but before we begin, the prophetic narrations were the conditions of keeping the Iman and remaining steadfast. How do we remain steadfast, and how do we keep our Iman as well? One thing to pay attention to is that Iman and Istiqamah, they both start with Alif as well. So what is Iman? Iman is Iqrarun bil lisani wa tasdiqun bil qalb. This is the definition of Iman, that you verify, that you testify with the tongue, and you believe with the heart. And what do you verify and what do you believe is the Iman-e-Mufassal. So Iman-e-Mufassal is the complete Iman in the 7 tenets, the 7 fundamentals and articles of faith and translation. And what is Iman-e-Mufassal? Iman-e-Mufassal is that we believe, that we say Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rasulihi wal yawmil akhirihi wal qadri wal khairihi sharrihi min Allah ta'ala wal ba'si ba'da al-maut. That we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we believe in the angels, the books which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent upon his messengers. We believe in the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We believe in destiny, good and bad, and we believe in the hereafter as well. So these are the 7 fundamentals, the 7 tenets which we must believe in as well. And this is the way we testify our Iman with our tongue and our believing it in the heart as well. And some ulama, they say that the success lies and the greatest wealth and blessing which has been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greatest ni'mah that Almighty Allah has favored with us in this world is the dawlat of Iman, is the gift of faith. That alhamdulillah and summa alhamdulillah, that when we were born in the families of Muslims, people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not only that, we can rejoice even more that we are born in families of people who not only do worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but on the straight path as well, the path of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jumma as well, the path who show the love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the path, the people who show the love for the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the people who show the love for the Sahaba Ikram as well, the people who are the companions of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the path of those who are the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we show love to all of these people. So this is one of the greatest ni'mah, one of the greatest blessings which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with, this dawlat of Iman. And we can never thank Almighty Allah enough for this gift which He has given us. We can never fully express our gratitude. And Syedna Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he would recite these following verses, the verses which were mentioned before from Surah Al-Fussilat, verses number 32, and he would mention them on the minbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he would explain by saying that by Allah, wallahi, that follow the straight path, not because you're going to gain something, but it's because of the pleasure of Rahman. It is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when you follow the straight path, when you're on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, you are there for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to gain something, but just solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is not to evade or dodge like a fox, but rather to remain steadfast. So this is the way we can have our true belief and remain steadfast upon this as well. And the true question is how do we remain steadfast? And in this great work of Imam Abu Zakaria an-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh of Riyadh al-Salihin, he mentions 2 to 3 ways about how to remain steadfast, how to be istiqamat on our Iman and on our deen. And he says that whatever you do, you should always seek help through Allah and His beloveds. Seek madad, seek help and assistance through Allah and His beloveds. And he mentions the first part from Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 35, that وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةَ, that from those deeds and actions which lead us to Allah Almighty is to establishing and being steadfast in namaz. Peace and tranquility comes from salah. Over 600 verses are in relation to salah itself in the Holy Quran. We must pay attention to this because salah is one of the 5 pillars of Islam as well. That when we pray our salah is over 600 verses in relation to salah itself. So to make time for salah, wherever namaz is, that we should always make time for it. It's not that our salah should revolve around our life should revolve around salah. So whenever it is time for salah, whenever it is time for the prayers, we should make the time, we should make special time just to say that, okay, we're praying Fajr in the morning, and then Zohar in the afternoon, and then Asr, and then Maghrib in the evening, and Isha nighttime. We should always make time for this, as this is the way it shows us to remain steadfast on our Iman and on our deen itself. So this was the first way of of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the first method of remaining steadfast upon the religion is to seek help through the favors which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed us. It can be through the awliya, it can be through the prophets as well, and through salah as well, and through salah as well. Allah Almighty has mentioned in the Holy Quran, and that seek help through patience and through prayer as well, that indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who are patient as well. So this is the first method which has been mentioned by Imam Abu Zakaria al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. The second method which was mentioned in regards to staying steadfast is that to surrounding ourselves with good people and friends, because the friends which we have, they will either make us or break us. They will either lead us to the garden of paradise, or the same friends, they will drag us to the fire of Jahannam. So we should be careful. We should make sure that the friends which we make, they are the ones who will lead us to Jannah as well. And when we be careful in making friends, because when we pass away, it's those same friends who will be on the first row of your janazah prayer as well. We want those people who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be in the first row of the janazah prayer, not those who have gone away from the religion, who do not know what salah is and who do not know what the prayer is. So to make good friends as well. And the three qualities you should look for in a friend as well, it has also been mentioned by Imam Abu Zakaria al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, that the three qualities which we should look for in a friend is that when you look at his face, it reminds you of Allah Almighty, that you see him and you remember your Lord. This is the first quality you should look for in a friend. The second quality is that when you hear them speak and the guidance you get from their words, it draws you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So number one is that when you see these individuals, you remember your Lord, you remember your Creator, you remember your Sustainer, and you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just by seeing the face of your friend. The second thing which he mentions is in the quality of finding a friend is that when they speak, when they give you guidance, it also draws you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It brings you closer to the religion, it brings you closer to your Lord, your Creator. And then the third thing which he mentions is to look at the actions of your friends as well, his af'al. And when you see his actions, when you see his af'al, it reminds you of the people of Jannah. So these are the three qualities which you should look for in a friend as well. That when you look at his face, it reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they speak, it draws you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you look at the actions of these certain individuals, it reminds you of the people of Jannah as well. So if you find anyone with any of those three qualities, you should bring them close to you. You should be with them even more, as it draws you closer to the religion and it helps you remain steadfast on your iman and on your belief as well. And the third and final method, which was mentioned by Imam Abu Zakaria al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, in regards to staying steadfast as well, is by seeking knowledge. Knowledge is what differentiates you between an animal and a human. It gives you pehchan, it gives you knowledge of what is halal and what is haram as well. It gives you knowledge of what is right and what is wrong. With knowledge, we understand what our deen is, and if you don't have the knowledge, then what is the difference between an animal or a human? So knowledge plays an important part in remaining steadfast as well. So if you have the correct knowledge, if you have the correct education as well, so being both secular and Islamic education as well. So if you move forward with this education, you'll be able to differentiate, you'll be able to know what is right, what is wrong. And this is the way forward as well, that it will help you remain steadfast on the religion as well. And there's many ahadith in regards to the knowledge as well, that the importance of knowledge, that when someone has learned the religion, it shows you the difference between an illiterate man and a person who has gained the knowledge as well. And this famous story which we hear again and again, that Shaitan, he once went, that Shaitan, what he normally does is that he gathers all of his followers and his people who follow him, that he would tell them and he would send them on tasks to do various bad things. So people would come to him on a daily basis and they will report to him as to what they have done. So one person would say that I made two brothers fight. Another one would say I made someone steal. Another one would say I made someone murder someone else. And then there would be the smallest of shaitans, and he will say that what I did was I stopped a child from going to the madrasa today. I stopped a child from gaining education today. And as soon as shaitan hears this, he becomes very happy. he will make that small follower of his sit on his throne. And the people around him, they would wonder that we did acts which were far more worse than what this little person has done compared to us. We made two brothers fight. We made an individual kill another individual. We made people steal as well. But why does he get the special treatment of sitting on your throne? Because all he did was he stopped a little child from going to gain the education, from going to the madrasa to gain the education. So Shaitan will then tell his followers to follow him. And then they will go and they will find a man, and he will bring a needle, and he will ask this man that, can Almighty Allah fit the world through the eye of the needle? And the man would look at Shaitan and would say that, no, it is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do that. And then Shaitan would take his followers to another individual, an individual who has learned the religion, and he will ask him the same question again, that he will bring out the needle, and he will ask this individual that, can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fit the entire world through this eye of the needle? And the person who is an alim, who is a scholar, who has learned the religion, he would say that if Almighty Allah wants, he can fit the entire universe through the eye of the needle. So this is the difference between gaining knowledge and being illiterate as well. So to remain steadfast, one of the best ways to do it is to gain knowledge as well. And I would end with the saying of Huzur Data Ali Hajwari radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that they mention in the Kashf al-Mahjub, that Hazrat Junaid al-Baghdadi radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he mentions in regards to the knowledge. And what does he mention in regards to knowledge is that is a person's spiritual state can fluctuate. Some days you'll be on a spiritual high, and like in the days of Ramadan. So when the days of Ramadan come, you will be in a spiritual high that you'll be attending the mosque on a daily basis, every day. So you'll be going there from Fajr to Isha as well, praying your Taraweeh with Jamaat as well. So it's like the days in Ramadan when you're fasting, you're doing more good deeds, you increase your recitation of the Holy Quran as well. So this is a spiritual state which can fluctuate, meaning it will go up, and then some days you will be on a spiritual low as well. Or some days you will not be as high spiritually than you are as in the month of Ramadan. So when the month of Ramadan finishes, you can see that our mosques, our masajid, they become empty as well. That people, they stop praying the Holy Quran as much as well. So this is an example of spiritual low as well. But in the month of Ramadan is the example of spiritual high, that people, they are there praying in the mosque. You will see them sitting there for hours and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what keeps you steadfast is knowledge. This is what has been mentioned by Hazrat Junaid al-Baghdadi radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that knowledge can be really important in our life. It can be the difference, it is the difference between an animal or a human as well. It's the difference between you knowing what is right and knowing what is wrong as well. And it is the reason why we can keep to our spiritual state as well, is by having the correct knowledge as well. I make dua to Allah Almighty that He grants each and every one of us istiqamat upon the deen. He keeps us firm on the sirat al-mustaqim, and that Almighty Allah gives us khatima bil iman. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وآخر الدعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.